Now, we will have a large portion of time for the discussion, so I sincerely hope you have lots of questions at that time, which will be after 2 more presentations. Now we will turn to how you should keep up with the changes as a logistics provider. Please welcome up on stage Finn Skovbo Pedersen. He's a managing director at DACHSER Nordic. Welcome.
So, my name is Finn Skovbo Pedersen, and I am the managing director of DACHSER Nordic, responsible for the Scandinavian countries. Today I will be talking about keeping up with changes as a logistic provider. Doesn't work. Yeah, okay. For those of you who do not know DACHSER or what we are doing, here are some facts. We are a global privately owned logistic provider, specialized in transport, warehouse, and air and sea. Worldwide, we have more than 315 offices and 21,000 employees, and the turnover in 2011 was 4.3 billion euros. In Scandinavia, we are more than 325 employees. We have 7 branches, and the turnover in 2011 was 107 million euros. A wise man once said, "More than the past, it is the future that interests me, since that is where I intend to live." Well, that's where I intend to live too, and I'm sure that you all want to be there as well. And because we all want to be part of the future, we need to be ready for change. But what is change? Change is an interesting thing, because on the one hand it is all around us, and yet what does this concept truly mean? If we are looking into the dictionary, it defines change as a transformation, a modification, or variation. The fact is that change causes challenges. There are different degrees of changes. There are big changes, the type of things that affect the world as a whole. European changes, which affect a single continent. There are more localized changes that have a direct effect on Scandinavia or a single country like Denmark or Sweden. Cooperation change, department change, and these changes, whether internally or externally driven, eventually reach every employee in some sort of fashion. The fact is that big or small changes are a part of our world, and it is very important that we identify the major changes of our time and the challenges these changes bring or offer. But how will we be prepared? We try to foresee changes. We make preparation in order to deal with a new reality that changes bring about. These preparations include analyzing 1. Historical facts, 2. Present actions, 3. The physical and intellectual world in which we are inhabit, and 4. The potential future change. This preparation can help us to steer change in a profitable direction. We recognize that economic crises will come and go, consumption patterns will change, but the fact is, and will always remain, that society needs goods to be transported. No matter where in the world one resides, at some point we need goods. People need groceries, houses to be built, and cars to drive. Therefore, DACHSER, as a member of the transport industry, does not freeze when confronted with change, but recognizes justification for its services in the way society operates. Due to the facts that we are a global company, we are acutely aware that the fact that consumer patterns are changing. However, our setup is so robust that change offers us minor risk. The great change that we logistic providers are experiencing today is that in the endless search for the best and cheapest means of production, manual labor has shifted. But which direction has this shift taken? I think we have heard that a lot of time today. Years ago, Scandinavia countries exported a great deal of labor production product. Output consisted of wood or steel. However, times have changed, depending upon many factors. But heavy labor production has moved to countries where production costs are much lower. And where has it moved to? Instead of producing in Scandinavia, production has been moved to Eastern Europe and, of course, to Asia. This has left regions like Scandinavia to deal with a changing landscape in which there is a limited transport demand and yet a high demand for consumption. This has caused a disruption in the patterns of distribution and has provided logistic companies with major challenge to overcome. Another challenge created by this shift of manual labor production is that developing countries are becoming richer. Because of this, the average consumer of a country like China has already and will continue to increase consumption of internal and export goods. China is set to become the largest economy in the world by 2020. In 10 years, the Chinese will be richer, older, and they will also be fatter, just like we are in the West. But more importantly, to companies like DACHSER, Chinese buying power will continue to increase and therefore set the demand for export, European-based export. How do we respond to these changes, and how do we adapt to this shift? I can answer this question of how to adapt by drawing to my own experience dealing with change as a managing director of a transportation company in Scandinavia. When we as children growing up in Scandinavia are confronted with a challenge, we do not raise our hand to yell out, I know, but rather we work together to say, we know. Working together and the freedom to think creatively are essential parts of the upbringing process in Scandinavia. We learn it already in the kindergarten. This process generates people to think outside the box and not in locked patterns. And it is precisely this kind of attributes that helps to recognize, adapt, and create precise solutions to challenges. With this in mind, in Scandinavia in general, the focus is no longer on production of goods, but rather on production of knowledge-based production. We must react to the market change by exporting products such as design, diabetes medicine, and transport logistics. These fields all require a sound knowledge where precision is a must. A good example of our know-how can be seen in transport of freight. Denmark alone accounts for 10% of the world's cargo flow. So we have a lot what we can learn to other countries. This export will help to satisfy the need of the Chinese consumer, because the policies in China are changing to support consumptions, and it is likely that whoever wins the heart of the Chinese will win the future. In addition to the exploitation of knowledge-based products, DACHSER has responded to the shift in the market by creating partnerships in countries where manual labor production has moved. It is not a coincidence that one may see DACHSER organization in South Korea, in India, in China, or Russia. In this way, we are staying close to the key manufacturers, and we are able to get goods directly into our fine meshed European network. When you have a mission to create the world's most intelligent combination and integration of logistical network services, being in the area where transport and distribution are most needed is a necessity. Further, to make transport more efficient, we have made it possible to consolidate goods overseas and transport containers directly into the receiving countries. This has helped to avoid stopovers upon arrival into Europe, and this fact alone helped to save time and money. To summarize, the allocation of wealth and globalization and the shifting movement of production have created new changes and challenges for export to and from growth countries. Developing countries like China need products, and although we in Scandinavia may have decreased manual labor production, we must be there to maximize precision. The importance of Europe will decrease if we do not respond to the demands of the changing financial market. However, we see these challenges as possibilities that will enable not only growth to developing countries, but to Europe and Scandinavia as well. Chinese growth can be Nordic growth. In addition to these challenges, labor costs in developing countries are now increasing. This has made it more and more attractive to localize production again, some of it. In short, globalization, rising rates, and oil and commodity prices are shifting production back towards localization. Wealth will continue to change hands, and the demand for transport will continue to change. But by being in the world economic centers like DACHSER also is, we will be able to keep up with the changes of tomorrow, so that no matter if globalization or localization is the trend of the day, we shall succeed. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this, Finn. Now, you talk about responsiveness to change, as all the others have done as well, which is a very important factor to succeed. What do you say about this article that I showed earlier today, that they say that the responsiveness to change of the executives from the northern countries, as of you are one, are slower to change than other executives? Do you agree?
Can I please have the answer again?
Yeah, the question is, I was reading an article this morning, and they say that executives from the northern countries are less adaptive to change.
Yeah, I'm sure that it is. So we have to keep up with the changes what will come, and if we not are not following the market as such, we will have a huge problem in the Scandinavian countries.
So you have been talking about China as well as a lot of the other presenters today. Still, though, United States is the biggest, the largest trade market. I will ask you in a minute. I will just ask you, Finn, for DACHSER, is it still the case?
Yeah, it's still the case. We are also situated in USA and with our own branches, and US is an important market for DACHSER as well. But the biggest increasing that we have, I think, is the same for the rest of the logistic providers, is in China or in Asia for the moment, and also in India. India is a big market where DACHSER is working as well.
Mm-hmm. China and India. So let's ask you, with the keypads, USA is still the largest trade market. Will it remain number one? Yes, forever. Yes, the coming decade. No, it's over now. No, that will change in the coming years. Please give your vote now. So what do you think?